This is Mark Henry back on the On Your Mark show, 105.4 RPWP, thepulseradio.com. We're in the On Your Diamond segment, man. I got one of the top coaches that I've been checking out. I've been watching some of his things online, Damon Brooks. He is in Alabama. I'm in Texas. So we connected up. We've been speaking behind the scenes, and I've been waiting to get this brother on the show, man. Come on in, Coach Brooks. How you doing?
Hey, Brother Mark, man. First of all, honored to be here, and thank you for reaching out and for allowing me just to kind of share a few minutes of my time and my story and my journey with your listeners, man. So, thank you, bro. I'm honored and humble, man, and thank you.
All right. Well, this is part of the show where I kind of like to let you give your background, where you played at, what you're doing that's leading up to where we are today.
Okay. Hey, man, I live in Maylene, Alabama, which is a suburb of Birmingham. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I attended Forest Park High School. People don't know this, but I actually went to the University of Dayton to play football, wound up walking on the baseball team, and 3 years later, man, became the first and only African American in the history of the University of Dayton to be drafted, and I'm the second person in the history of the school to be drafted, man. So, interesting journey. I was drafted in 1986 by the Houston Astros in the 28th round. I played 86, 87. I got released in October, November of 87. Excuse me, man. I had about another year at college, and I wanted to finish school. Had an opportunity to play with several other teams, but we'll cover this at some point. But I had seen the business side of baseball, and that was a ugly side. And then I'm a lot older now, but that was the side of the game, man, where I wasn't educated on that part of it. Nobody had told me about the business side of baseball. Therefore, when I played 2 years, and with that, I can still say, at that time I was among, the top 5% of the people in the world to have ever got drafted. I was released in October 87, joined the United States Marine Corps in February, March of 88, and spent 5 years, 11 months in Marine Corps, and I'm an entrepreneur. And right now, man, I've been spending a lot of time working with kids, man, and giving back to the game that gave something to me, bro.
Now, speaking on that, it sounds like you were a multi-sport athlete. In today's game, we see things where, it's time for him to specialize, or you shouldn't play more than one sport. Speak on that just a little bit before we start to get into baseball in depth.
I know times have changed, and I know you got trainers now. You got trainers for this and trainers for that. It's also changed on the high school level where, you got these coaches in some, Texas. I'm in Alabama. I mean, there's some coaches making, $130,000 a year, and they ain't coaching nothing but football. Or, in football, in most cases, baseball guys, not as much, basketball guys, but, football guys. And trust me, man, I get it. I understand. They're wanting their kids to play just one sport, or football in particular. But, man, I'm old school, man. And if you're good enough, at the end of the day, play two sports. You only go through high school one time. And, and if you're good enough, man, hey, let the chips fall where you may. And at the end of the day, you will find an opportunity to play beyond the high school if you're good enough, man. And so enjoy the high school experience. I'm not one for specialization. I have a junior in high school. Now, he made a decision, I think it's 7th or 8th grade year, to just, play baseball. But a lot of the training we do is multifaceted. There are football drills included in that. But, he only plays one sport. But if you got a kid that's good enough, hey, man, he should be playing as many sports as he possibly can, in my opinion.
Well, definitely, I agree with that. At least up until you get, to where you figure this is what you're going to do. In my case, we made the decision probably after his freshman year. He was a football player and baseball player. That's what he did all the way up until freshman year. And, we decided, hey, now which one are we going to get? You think you're going to get the money in, or as far as going to college, which one do you see, being profitable that way? And we made a decision from 9th grade on to just play baseball. But I mean, if you look at this guy, he's a football player the way he's built, but, I think he's a better, more natural baseball player than he is a football player. He worked at both, But, it comes a time when you make that decision one way or the other, and I agree. But up until then, man, play both sports because there are different muscles in different areas of the body that work differently in both sports that work together.
But and I'm gonna add this too, man. And let's say, for instance, let's say my son, my son last year he was 5'9". So let's say last year he's 5'9". He's a junior, he's a young junior, class of 22. He's 5'9", and let's say he played basketball. Well, dude, I got to realistically look at him. You're a sophomore in high school, bro. Ain't too many 5'9" dudes playing in the NBA. Now he don't have mad handles. He could probably guard you, but he can't dribble past you, right? But last year he go from 5'9" to now he's 6'2", almost 6'3". So he has shot up. So you look at a kid and you say, look at his mom and dad. I'm looking at you right now, and this how I size up athletes. I can tell right now you got decent shoulders. I can tell your son is probably a big bone kid. I'm not sure what position he played in baseball, but I'm gonna guess. And I ain't seen your boy, man. I'm gonna guess he's probably a catcher, third baseman, first baseman, or outfielder. Am I right or wrong?
That's correct. He played catcher for a number of years. Right now, in school and college, he's an outfielder. He was too short to play first. If he'd have been probably a 6'1" or above, he probably could have gone somewhere playing first base. But he's played second. The only thing he didn't do was pitch. But you're right. And those were the positions that he was put in, because like I said before we got started, I wasn't a baseball guy. That's not my background. My background is football. So, I've kind of let the coaches mold him in a certain way. And then I've jumped in there and coached from here to there, before he got to high school, up in select ball and stuff like that. But, that's right. And I was speaking with on a previous show about that with a coach that you look at the parents, the pedigree, what you're going to be getting when you look into, a player. And that's what coaches do.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting, dude. I'll look at an athlete. And this is crazy, bro. I look at their feet. I go from their feet to their shoulders. I go from their feet from back to the feet, from their feet up to the butt. And then you kind of look at the hands. And you're like, okay, this kid is going, for lack of better terms, he's projectable. Now which means he's going to grow beyond where he potentially is right now. And that's one of those old sayings, we kind of see you before we see you. And then not after we see you, after I see your boy, you see my boy, if I see my boy, first thing I'm going to do if he's with his parents, I'm going to look at mom and dad. So if my son is 6 foot, mama is 5'2" and daddy 5'8", dude probably done topped out.
Right.
Right. More than likely he is topped out, man.
Right. Now let's go back to your experience a little bit. You mentioned being one of the first African-American players in the University of Dayton's baseball history. On the Diamond segment, we're focusing on the Black baseball players' point of view in baseball, but we're talking about baseball in general. But how was that for you? How was your experience? And, share with us some of the things that you went through, because that's a turbulent time. That was, the times are tough now for a Black man in general, just in society. But being by yourself, I can experience that as a family. We, most of the time, here in Texas, we're the only Black family there. He was maybe one or two Black players on his team. And so we know how that looks. You get the looks, you get the stares. But for the most part, honestly, we never really had a problem. People embrace us just because of the mentality of the family that we have.
Right. That's you bring up a great point. And I'm going to speak from them, but I'm going to speak from my experiences. I've lived in 9 cities, 1 country. So I've been around. So my perspective on race is a little bit different than, say, someone who's, for lack of better terms, has not been exposed. Even growing up. Now, I grew up in inner city, Cincinnati. From the 1st to the 8th grade, I grew up in an area called Winton Terrace. So, if any your listeners know about Winton Terrace. Winton Terrace was a pretty rough place. From the 8th grade, we moved to Forest Park, which was I'm gonna say it was probably 65 African American, 35 white. So the majority Black, but it was a mixed school. It was a real mixed school. Interesting enough, our football team was predominantly Black. Even on our baseball team back then, and baseball back in the 70s and 80s in Cincinnati was pretty predominant. But our school we didn't have a lot of black kids playing baseball. But at the time, it didn't make any difference because what we did have, excuse me, interesting enough, I'm a Cincinnati, Cincinnati Reds fan. You had Joe Morgan, you had Ken Griffey Sr., you had George Foster, you had Ed Armbrister. You had these guys that, Dan Dreesen, that as crazy as it sounds, you would go out to the car wash and you'd see these dudes in the car wash. So you had them around. I grew up with Dave Justice, Lance Johnson, Barry Larkin, Durrell Boston, Leon Durham. Those were kind of guys I looked up to with my peer group. Now, and it's gonna sound crazy, bro. I don't think now are the numbers down in baseball. Yes, on a professional, yes. That can't be disputed. What are the factors? I think it's several factors. I think it's dads being involved in his son's life, and or some moms. I'm not going to discount moms, right? But baseball is one of them deals, man. We can go out in the backyard and just throw a baseball. Baseball is a very, very difficult sport. And when people say it's a failure sport, it's a failure sport. And so now let me go back to University of Dayton, right? My freshman year, I go to University of Dayton to play football. I tore my right lateral meniscus, and so I redshirted in football. The baseball coach knew I was going to be walking on, so I played a little bit my freshman year. I think I get about 30 at bats. Well, I hit 208 my freshman year. I called my dad. I told my dad, "Hey man, I want to transfer." Now you have to know my dad. You got to know my dad, right? So my dad gave me 3 choices, bro. 3. My dad said, "Hey man, if you transfer, that means you got to go somewhere else and reestablish yourself." He said, "You can stay there and work your butt off and see what happens." Or he said, "You can come home and you got literally 6 months and 1 day. And on that 1 day, we moving your ass out of my house." Excuse my language, dog.
No, you good, coach. That's real. Keep it going.
But that's what he told me.
Right.
So, I stayed there. I had the opportunity. I balled out played in the collegiate league. I balled out. My sophomore year at the University of Dayton, I hit 331. I made several school records, individual season records. My junior year, I hit 323. Again, I set and established several individual records. I left the University of Dayton. My career batting average was 309, and unbeknownst to myself at that time, I'm the first African American in the history of University of Dayton to ever be drafted, and I'm the second in the history of the school. When you're young, 2020, you ain't thinking about all that, man. You just think about playing ball. But as I'm older now, man, and I got a picture. I'll post this in that group at some point where, my son is now 16. I think he was maybe 9, 10, or 11. We went back to the campus and his dad's name is on this list, and that'll be on that list at the university forever, man. So that's kind of my story at the University of Dayton. Pro ball was drafted. The business side of this, man, let me back up. For every kid that is aspiring to play this game, or play any game, man, go 100%. I don't care if you NA, IA, NJ, CAA, Division 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, that 5, right? Hey, man, go your hardest, because you never know who's watching. You never know who they looking for. And you never know if you're going to be that dude that say, "You know what, I like this kid. I'm going to give him a chance." Now, obviously, your measurables got to be there. You got to have a certain velo. You got to have a certain speed. You got to have all of that stuff, right? But the interesting thing with the game of baseball, dude, is everybody develops at different times. I use my son as an example. He's 5'9". Last year, he's 6'2", 355 pounds. But what people don't know, dude, he's only 16. He'll graduate high school at 17. So he's a young kid. He's a young kid. But for all you young guys out there, man, that's aspiring to do this, don't let me, don't let your mama, don't let your daddy, don't let your aunt and uncle tell you what you can't do. Don't put because they're limiting themselves. or because of their own limitations, let me rephrase that, because of their own limitations, they want to put limitations on you. Don't let that happen, bro.
Well, that's a great message, and that's what we're looking for. I guess it's Damon Brooks on the On Your Mark show on 105.4 RPWP. Now, the business side of baseball, you get through college, you put up the numbers, you get that look. Now comes the time you get drafted. What was that like for you? And then minor league baseball. Baseball is different. It doesn't. It's not like football. You go right into the pros, or like basketball. You go right into the pros. Baseball is a little bit different as a farm system. You kind of have to work your way through it. Speak on that just a little bit.
Man, if I can give anybody anything to give back on the business side of baseball, I'm just going to my story. Everybody's got a different story, but similar. Before the draft, word was, I was going to be getting drafted my junior year, and at a 4-year school, that's when you're eligible to be drafted. So I knew I was going to get drafted. And back in the day before, I'm 55, so back in the day before the internet and everything, they used to have these questionnaires. So you go through this questionnaire, and the last question, I'll never forget, it was Jack Baker was a scout for the Orioles, and the last question was, what would it take for you to sign? And I looked Jack, we're sitting in this car, dude. I looked at him and I said, Jack, I think about 40 grand. And 40 grand in 1980, I'm showing my oldness now, dog.
That's a pretty good fat. That's a good fat pocket. You got your bag a little bit as a kid.
You got your bag, right? 40 grand
right.
in today's money is like
right.
$1 million, right?
Right.
So I said, Jack, 40 grand. He says, that's like 3rd or 4th round money. I didn't know where I was projected to be drafted.
Right.
Come to find out, I was projected to go between the 10th and the 15th round. I would have been the Orioles' first outfielder pick in that draft. Well, long story short, I quoted a price. Word spread that, what? This kid is not going to sign unless he gets 40 grand. Okay? So day one of the draft comes. Didn't get my name called. Went to my partner, Troy Williams, who got drafted by Seattle in the 11th round that year. We played on summer ball together. And then the next day, bro, I'm sitting down watching Family Ties. So I'm literally sitting down at my mom's house watching Family Ties. The phone rings, and it's Dave Lakey from the Houston Astros. He says, "Hey man, you've been drafted in the 28th round. Congratulations." And again, I'm a young kid. I just want to play baseball, dog. Hey, we're gonna send you a plane ticket to New York. We're gonna send you a contract. Hey, bro, I signed for $2,500, a glove and a pair of spikes, and about a week or so later, I flew out to Auburn, New York. Now, what I didn't know about the business side, bro, Mark, is I couldn't negotiate. But I had nobody inform me on the business side of baseball. Do I have any regrets? No, man, I ain't got no regrets. I'm cool. Life has been pretty good to me. I've had my ups and downs. Overall life has been good because it's working with kids. It's kind of giving me a renewed passion about the game, not the business, the game. But at the end of the day, man, it's pro baseball is a business. College baseball is a business. I talk to my kids about the business of baseball because a lot of people can play. But the business of baseball, man. But that was kind of my professional experience. I played 2 years in the Astro organization, 86, 87. I was living in Phoenix, Arizona when my mom called me. She was in Cincinnati. She called me. She says, "Hey, I got a letter here from Houston." I knew what it was. Basically, they had given me my unconditional release. My mom said, but earlier in the day, I know it was the Giants, the Royals, the Reds, and it was another team that wanted me to, come to spring training. But the reality, dude, I had gotten a kind of a bad taste in my mouth about the game. Again, I'm a young dude, not understanding the business. Therefore, even though Houston released me, I still could have played with, 4 other teams, or at least been invited to spring training. Looking back on it, hey, man, I have no regrets. I've always wanted to join the Marine Corps. I did that. I got my degree, blah, 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 blah. So I mean, no regrets, and a heck of an experience. And who knew then that I would be where I am, now, bro, and an opportunity to get back, man.
Well, that's definitely speaks to your perseverance. That means that you didn't quit, even though things and circumstances got a little murky. You stayed with the process and you trusted the process. The business side, I tell kids all the time, college is a business, and trying to get to college should be your business, whether it's athletics or academically. But you gotta make sure that you're doing the right things to get there. This is Damon Brooks, located in Birmingham, Alabama, I believe,
Yeah,
around
Maylene.
Birmingham. Yeah.
Maylene is suburb run. Yep, yep.
Okay. Around the Birmingham, Alabama area. He is a baseball coach. He focuses on hitting, but overall, just the whole baseball aspect, footwork, things that you need to be doing to get yourself ready to play ball. Now let's break it down just a little bit here here on your Marc show on the Diamond segment. Damon Brooks. Now, Coach, what are some of the things that's important to baseball? I mean, we talked about the eye test, how you look at a player from the waist up or from the ground up. That's in any sport. You have to have the footwork. There's certain things that you have to do, but baseball is a whole different animal where you also have to be cerebral and you're thinking. You have to know where you're going. You have to know what you're doing in each situation. So what are some of the things that you work on, the young men that you talk to and coach with all the time?
Man, it's great. I started my own travel organization back in 2013. And when I kind of got involved with it, it getting a renewed passion. But as time went on, people get hitting lessons, they get pitching lessons. Nobody works on the hands. Nobody works on the feet. There are not even many people that give catching lessons, or many catchers don't. They don't work with anybody on catching, man. And I must say for our kids, meaning African American kids in general, but kids in general, at the end of the day, it's the fundamentals. Now you've seen some of my drills and some of the things we do, and
Right.
it will sound crazy, man, but it's like it's like that's basic stuff, but it's not, because not many people are getting that. I think in today's travel ball environment, and let me say, I'm gonna backtrack. If I offend anybody out there, I apologize. What I'm getting ready to say, but I'm gonna hit some people in the head with some things, right?
Well, we want you to keep it real. That's why we're on your Marc show. Let's have it.
Okay, hey, this right here. So if I got a name across my jersey, the Colts, whatever that name that is, right? When we play the game, winning is for this. It's for the name on the jersey, right? But at the end of the day, winning helps me attract kids.
Right.
But the reality of it is, as a coach, is my job to provide exposure for you. Now, guess what? My exposure is going to allow you to be exposed or to get exposure. Now, to back up. Now, if I'm working on hands in practice, when we talk about real development, if I'm working on hands, if I'm working on feet, if I'm working on exchanges, if I'm working on picking, if I'm working on short hop, if I'm working on crow hops, if I'm working getting behind the ball and coming through the ball, that's development. And what I began to see personally was everybody, you're trying to create a shortcut. I don't care about, any type of throwing program, dude. Long toss. You can get your arm from long toss.
Okay.
You can get, do band. There's a lot of new age technology, but at the end of the day, man, in the game, a lot of the fundamentals was being missed out, right? Now, let's bring it back to our kids. So at the end of the day, dog, when you look at our kids, this is a very difficult sport. We don't want to spend time on ground ball after ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. And check this out, dog. You might get 200 ground balls in practice and be in a game and don't get one.
Right.
You feel me?
Right. But you know how to handle it when you get there.
But you know how to handle it when you get it, right? Or guess what? I may watch you, I may be at a game and watch your boy or my boy watch a kid, and he may turn a double play. He might not get a hit that whole game, right? But I might watch how his hands, but he went from here to here, and then them footwork and be like, oh man, that kid is nice.
Right.
And he said he swing the bat.
Right.
But I watch his footwork. I watch his hands. So, you know, I take pride in you know, teaching the fundamentals, man. I've been fortunate, you know, work with Luke Collier. You know, we've had several camps over here, man. So
yeah, I saw that. It was great. And shout out to Luke Collier. I happened to see that, man. And that was one thing I wanted to do was to reach out to you because I saw that and I've seen the things that you've been doing. So I know what you're doing and you can give us knowledge and information that we need to know.
Yeah, hey, man, and it's at the end of the day, and I know, you know, some of your listeners, you know, probably, you know, I'm trying to find out which team I need to go play for. You know what? On that, something like that, man, buyer beware. Because really, you know, when you're talking about little kids, you know, you got a boy in college right now, and when you're talking about little kids, mamas and daddies, I'm going to be brutally candid with you. Your money most of the time is to go to pay for that 17 or 18-year-old kid so we can fly him in to play in this tournament so that we can say we won this event, and they're going to pat you on the back and say, thank you for wearing the name on that jersey, man. So, you know, work on as Lou likes to say, as we like to say, hey, man, if you're talking about, you know, chase development, chase ground balls, chase footwork, chase exchanges, chase, you know, hand work, chase that. Don't chase the name on the jersey, bro.
And that's important. You know, one thing, and I can speak from experience, is we didn't do a lot of team hopping. When he went to, after we got done coaching him up through select up to a freshman, he played for one team, didn't really like what they were doing. And he spent the rest of his high school team with the Texas Giants, who it ultimately helped him get into college. So, you know, team hopping, and I see a lot of things on social media and a lot of chats about that. And, you know, people want to know about that. And you spoke about the travel ball industry and the reason you started your team. Just elaborate on that just a little bit.
Man, there was a program here, but actually there was a very wealthy family here who, you know, kind of saw some of the work I was doing and invited me into, again, no problem saying Harpersville, Alabama, little country town, right? Well, they invited me over, and I'm in it for the kids. I understand it's a business, but you ain't got to hit people over the head, right?
Right.
So, you know, they started, you know, we started getting kids. We started getting kids from all over. So they literally wanted to raise prices like in midstream. Like, no, we ain't doing that. No, we're not doing that. There were some issues there, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But there were some issues there. I decided that, you know what, this may not be the right place for me. So we had a trial. We're supposed to go to trials. You know, like when I got a call on a Friday, they didn't want me to be a part of the organization. No problem. Well, my son at the time, Devin, was 9. He was 9. He didn't know anything about it. So we go to trials, bro. And when we go to trials, I tell him to stay in the car. He don't know why he's staying in the car. You know, I hand him their stuff back. And we left that dude. And, you know, I look in the back seat. He crying. 9 years old kid, but he crying. And he crying because he like, who am I going to play for? And be honest with you, Marc, I ain't know. I had no clue who he was going to play for. But I knew 2 things, man. I knew my son, and there's a whole bunch of kids like my son that's in that situation to where, because of who they are, they kind of get excluded, or because of who I am. I mean, I'm not a passive dude. You know, I'm not. You know, I'm very respectable, very humble guy, but you know, I'm not a kumbaya dude, man. That ain't me. You know, so
right.
And if something is not right, it's not right, and I'm gonna say it.
Right.
But I found my son in a situation where it's like I gotta find a team. And
right.
Funny story, this was on a Saturday morning, and I didn't sleep between Saturday and Monday because I'm trying to figure out how to get kids. You know, posting stuff out here.
Right.
Funny enough, dude, by that Thursday of that following week, I had 10 kids, 11 kids, including my son.
Right.
And The first team we played, bro, was guess who? Was the organization. And I have to admit, we had practiced probably a week to 10 days. I have to admit, dog, they beat the brakes off of us, right? But I remember one of the coaches saying, we ain't gonna want to see him later on down the season. And guess what, dog? We saw him 2 to 3 more times. And the only time we lost him was that first time, bro. Now, funny thing, I taught my kids how to play baseball. Pick the ball. I mean, proper leads. You know, reading the outfield. And I go as crazy to 9 and 10-year-olds, man, saying check the wind when you go in the outfield. Somebody say, what that mean? Pick up some grass, check the wind.
See which way it's blowing.
See which way it's blowing. And then for big boys, I tell them to check the wind and then check the flag. Those are little things.
Right.
But those are little things. So, but that was kind of my evolution into my start into the travel ball. And then you know, at that point, man, I started enjoying it. Even to this day, I still like competing. So I started enjoying it, and I've been fortunate enough. You know, we've had one graduating class. We have one graduating class, and you know, and out of that class, we got, you know, and these are original dudes that play with us: Fred Stewart, De'Arius Davis, Justin Wiley, C.T. Dodd. We got 4 or 5 kids over at Miles College. So you know, we've been fortunate enough to you know, be a part of the process with, you know, playing or having kids and, you know, going to the next level.
Well, that's great. And for me, that's what it's all about, is getting the information out so that people can understand what it takes to get to the next level. One of our segments on the show, we have a recruiting corner, and we talk about things, bring people on that have knowledge about getting to the next level: coaches, college coaches, high school coaches, kids and parents that have gone through that particular process. And here's an interesting thing. I'm in Texas, so it's very competitive at all levels of baseball. But high school baseball versus select or travel baseball, you know, in your opinion, where do you get the development more at?
Man, that's a great question, because I actually, I'm actually the 9th grade coach at Thompson High School. I'm the assistant coach. And the only reason I'm assistant because I'm not in the school system. The last 2 or 3 years, I've been at the middle school. So this is my 9th grade year. It's interesting, man. I would say in the fall is where you have a lot of development going on.
Right.
But once the season starts, to be honest with you, dude, you know, you don't have a lot of time to work on, you know, the fielding. I mean, you do your round of infield, but there's not a lot of individual time. I know this fall we spent a lot of fundamental work, man. For instance, I'm the outfield. I work with all the outfield. So you know, we spend a lot on, you know, making sure they're taking the right drop step. You know, making sure they're not taking a proper a false step when they open. Working on quick feet. You know, interesting enough, dude, a lot of kids don't even crow hop now. Let me rephrase it. They don't know how to crow hop.
Right.
So, you know, if you got a kid with an okay arm, but fundamentally he's done all the right moves crow hop wise, that can make an okay arm good. Or if you got a kid with a cannon and now he knows how to crow hop, oh my God. You know, now you got a freaking weapon out there.
Right.
So, you know, just working on the little things. And what I've kind of found is not a lot of your travel ball organizations are working on that. And the reason being is, guess what? You know, for most of your big ones, you know, you got kids coming from all over the country to meet for a weekend on a tournament. So they don't have, you know, you ain't got time to work with them. I'm sure they may have a workout plan, but you don't have time to work with them. Man. So high school, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, high school,
go ahead.
Yeah, you don't really have a lot of time, man.
Yeah, right. You just don't have a lot of individual time, and that's where the player or the parents, you know, I always tried to educate myself on things that he needed to be doing outside of the team, because you don't have a lot of time. You get, you know, in Alabama, I believe you guys go all the way up to 7A. You get these bigger schools, they just don't have time with the multitude of kids that they have per coach to spend on fundamentals. That's where you have to, you know, pick up the lessons with, you know, guys like you, or just soft toss and long toss and things like that. And just footwork, small little things that get you ready for the bigger picture. So, but and you brought up,
we're a 7A school.
Right. Right. And here in Texas, we go all the way up to 6A. So, things like that are things that they need to be working on in particular. Now, you did mention that this is your first graduating class within your organization. And let's talk about exposure a little bit. What do you, in your opinion, do kids need to, and parents and families need to be looking forward to as for exposure? Now, you're close enough to Atlanta, where, in Georgia, where they have the Big Perfect Game tournaments throughout the summer, throughout the year. Florida has quite a big perfect game turnout. The bigger tournaments for exposure where it could be 1,000 kids out there.
Right.
And you have to worry about getting your child or getting a player to stick out in front of all of those coaches to be seen. And we're not talking, when I say be seen, we're talking about trying to get to college. We're not speaking about the draft portion of it yet, because, as you said before at the beginning of the show, you have to be special in order to get drafted at any level.
Right. And interesting enough, man, Hoover, Alabama, they have a lot of big perfect game tournaments in Hoover. And Hoover literally is about, from my house, probably about 15, 20 minutes.
Right.
Here to the Hoover Met. Now, I think a couple of things that parents need to be aware of is first of all, exposure. What does that mean? And exposure can mean a couple of things. It can mean exposure. You're playing in these events, but if you don't have I'm gonna call them the tools. And I mean, people may know the tools, right? The five. I'm gonna say the 5 tools. These are the what you can see. Hitting for power, throwing, defense, and speed. So in each one of those, each position has a different priority on the tool set. For instance, in today's game, a catcher doesn't have to be fast, and in some cases don't have to hit. But they need to be able to be a good defensive guy. They need to make sure the ball's not going to the backstop. They need to be able to handle, depending on the level, high velocity. A center fielder. Center fielder needs to be able to hit, but you can't have a center fielder running a 7-7.
Right.
Most I'm gonna say, I think the average major league 60 times is 6-7.
Okay.
So so you want your, depending on the schools, you want those positions to have certain tools, and then then there's the 6th tool. It's that one thing. Some people call it the intangible. I call it the freaking heartbeat. You get some guys, man, that they might look terrible in BP, but guess what, dog? The minute you flick the lights on, them dudes ball out.
Right.
Them dudes ball out. I think, too, and this kind of get back on the parent part, I think a lot of parents don't really know what a good baseball player looks like. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's like, baseball's kind of boring. People kind of sit around and they stand around like,
a lot.
And then as soon as Johnny make a mistake, well, my son could have made that play. Well, not really.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Been there, done that. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's one of them things, man, where it's and I love that Facebook group, but I think there's people at different stages.
Right.
I think, there's a lot of pro dudes in there, and I know a lot of them.
Right.
And their message, let me rephrase it. Their delivery may be harsh, but their message is bullseye.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I think that rubs some parents the wrong way. But, I'm kind of being, as a former Marine and a pro dude and college, all that stuff, man, and just being in life. Hey, man, sometimes it ain't the message or how. Don't receive the message the way it's spoken. Receive the message. Receive the message. I know here, kind of bouncing around. I do. This ain't an easy game.
Right.
You get, oh man, my son can play. Have you ever stood in the batter's box and somebody threw 90 by you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a dude go deep in the hole at shortstop and it looked like he playing left field and he throw a dot across the diamond, and it's like it beat the dude by 2 steps.
Right.
That's special.
Right.
I know, and I'm bouncing around. Cut me off, but people talk about the cost of baseball. Yeah, this is expensive, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But guess what? But how do we prioritize?
Right.
Okay, my wife, but she do her hair herself, right?
Okay.
But I don't know. I guess it's $60 to get your hair done and to get color, right?
Oh yeah.
Do that twice a month.
Yeah.
Better yet, bro, I smoke cigars, right?
Yeah.
2 cigars a day at $20 a day. That's $600 a month.
Right.
Dude, I'm gonna invest in my son. I ain't gonna give up my cigars. I'm gonna find something else to give up.
Right.
So is it expensive? Yeah. What you gonna pay for your kid? I'm paying for mine.
Yeah.
You paid for yours.
I did. And trust me, I have a wife and 2 other kids that play sports as well. And I won't say that we had arguments, but we went round and round about it. But I had in my mind, this is what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? And the turning point for me, and I can speak for this personally, he was in his junior year, going into his senior year. He played a couple of games, a doubleheader. The coach in the organization asked him to play in the collegiate league, and there was collegiate pitchers, kids from Baylor, how they come in from college, and when he got up and he hit a double or a single off a college pitcher, when I kind of thought, okay, I think he can handle this. This is what we need to be doing. And he held his own against college pitching still in high school. So that was a thing that I knew that he could do. He was always been a strong kid. He's always been able to hit. And, I had a very good, still to this day, have a very good relationship with his travel ball organization coach. And he, told me that hitting was going to be his ticket.
Right.
And those are the things that we need to focus on. So he has a very good hitting coach who he still sees to this day, who's has a pro ball background just like you did, and he is Black, and that's one thing that I can attest to.
Willie Ainsley?
Cecil Espy.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, come on, man.
Yeah,
It worked with Omar.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Cecil Espy. Yeah, shout out to Coach Espy. Has been his mentor and his hitting coach for well past 5 or 6 years, and he breaks it down for him. Right. He's hard on him. One thing about Cecil is he's not gonna let him get away with anything. Right. And those are the things that I sit back and watch. I go over in the corner and sit down. I don't say nothing. I'm not involved. If he has something to say to me, he will. I've seen, heard the term called helicopter parent. When I'm not that, because I know, I played up to 2 years in college when I didn't finish, but I played football most of my life. I know when somebody knows what they're doing when they're coaching, and I step back and let them have it. So, those are 2 things that, you want to see, and yes, we did stick with him because he was a Black coach and that he could give him something that, another coach couldn't give him just because he's not, Black or African American. But, he's had some great coaches of all nationalities, but that was just one thing. And he's still with him today. That makes a difference is he sees somebody like him that knows that the game can give you the game like it's supposed to be given and not sell you short.
Right. Well, and I think too, man, we're in interesting times, and I'm gonna say interesting times because now, from a race standpoint, now everything is out there and it's out there quick, right?
Right.
I'm gonna also add this too. Social media. You would think by being on social media, man, that everybody's bad. Black people are bad, white people are bad. Dude, it ain't that way. Excuse me. And now I think, and I'm gonna get off on a tangent, but I'm gonna come back and work with you right now, man. In 2009, I had the opportunity to go to Ghana, and for me, I was kind of on a soul searching mission. Somebody say, Damon, where you from? I say Cincinnati. They say, bro, Marc, where you from? I'm from Houston. Well, you ain't from Houston.
No, actually, that's what you see the Astros there. That's where I'm from, born and raised, actually.
No, but follow me though. I see that, but what I mean is, a lot of other ethnic groups can trace their lineage.
Yeah.
We know. Okay, I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. But
right.
My grandmother was from here. Her grandparents were from where? Eventually, they were from somewhere outside of the U.S., right? Now,
Exactly.
I had the opportunity to go to Ghana in 2009, and I was there for 10 days, man. Most powerful experience I've had in my life. One of the top three, I'll say that. Well, at the end of the day, bro, when I came back to the United States, man, I sat on this panel and it dealt with male-female relationships. And in that panel, in the audience, there was a couple of married couples, but there was a majority of moms with single kids. And dude, I started tearing up because 3 days ago I'm in Ghana, South Africa, in the Cape Coast Slave Castle and Omina Slave Castle, and I seen how the families were divided there and put on ship and all that stuff, right? Now, where am I going with that, bro? I think when you look at today's game, right? The game has been played on all of us. Black, white, orange, green, you name it. It's been played on all of us, okay? So, you would think, and this is my opinions are my experiences. I don't give opinions because I done read some books here, excuse me, dog. So, when I look at my experience, when I look at those, and when I look at, you would think, man, that everybody's bad, and everybody's this, everybody's that. Well, like I said, you work with Cecil. It helps that he's a brother, but more importantly, it helps that he's had the experience at that level. And let me ask this, dog, and I would say more importantly than that, he can communicate with your son.
Exactly.
You know what I'm
saying?
Exactly.
Oh, because
yeah. Your son, he's speaking Spanish, and your son understands Spanish.
Exactly.
If I might be the greatest hitting coach or footwork coach, but if I'm speaking English and everybody trying to hear French, I'm talking shit. Excuse my language, dog.
No, you good. You good. I mean, and that's the whole thing for this segment here on Your Marc Show is we want to bring that to the light, and I want to get this message out to families that have aspiring Black players so that they don't lose the sight on the target. We talked about here on the show today, we've talked about the pricing, we talked about travel ball, and we talked about things that affect not just Black players, but everybody, but if you don't have it, then you're looked at upon as if you can't compete on that. And that brings me to my next question that I really think is interesting. And could you shed a little light on and break it down? A lot of times the Black player gets called raw. Explain that to what that means, in a baseball type situation.
Man, we were literally just having this conversation with a partner of mine yesterday. Dude, when you hear the word raw, first of all, I mean, and it's a stereotypical term.
Okay.
When you hear the word raw, they talking about an African American kid. Period.
Right.
Okay. Now that may mean he's got a freaking great arm but terrible footwork. That may mean he's freaking strong as an ox. He can swing a telephone pole at the plate, but his lower half is not engaged at all. That may mean, you know what, man, this dude can pick them with the best of them, but he ain't got no footwork. That's what raw means. I'm not gonna mention the name, but it's a good friend of mine, former major leaguer. His son's gonna probably be drafted in the top 5 rounds. Top 5 picks. They said this dude was raw. This dude ain't raw. He ain't nowhere close to being raw.
Yeah.
Nowhere close.
Yeah.
So I think, but I think we gotta understand this too, man. And this is, we have to understand that, we're talking about a game. We're talking about America's pastime. Hot dogs, apple pie, Chevrolet in baseball, right? So I think when you look at that, when you look at the dynamics of the game, when you look at the Negro leagues, and you look at all of this, right?
That was my next question.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You look at it, bro, because I'm passionate about this, man. When you look at the understanding, there was integration, obviously, right? But why was that? We needed money. Maybe people. Hey, man, at the end of the day, this stuff is about asses and seats.
Right.
And so now, more African American players are getting involved because you got more dads involved.
Right.
You got those groups that are involved, right?
Right.
I would say this: a lot of us didn't play the game because who wants to spend 3, 4, 5 years in the minor leagues for maybe a chance?
Right.
Guess what?
Right.
I can go to college as a basketball dude, go to the University of Louisville, and I'm
One
on
and
TV
done.
my friend.
Yeah.
You feel
Right.
me?
Right.
You know,
one and done.
I can go. You know, I'm in Roll Tide territory, right?
I don't know.
I can go to University of Alabama and play my freshman year and be on TV.
Right.
Or I can get drafted by the Houston Astros, get $3.5 million, and go to somewhere USA, and you don't hear nothing about
it. Right.
That's an easy choice for a kid sometimes.
Right. Right.
If they're good enough. But at the end of the day, dude, I think you got more, like you said, you're a football dude, but your son like baseball.
Right.
You know, I played football, went to college, played football, but you know, my son likes baseball. But at the end of the day, guess what, man? For the business side of this, two things, Mark. From a professional standpoint, in my opinion, it's about asses and seats. So, and everything evolves, right? Now, let's say your boy's fortunate enough, dog, and let's say he gets drafted, plays in the big league. We got a relationship now, right?
Right.
Okay, let's say the Astros play the Braves. Mark say, D, hey, man, we're going to be in Atlanta. Well, guess what? It's 2 hours and 20 minutes from my house to Atlanta. So now, I got to pay for parking, hotel, I'm going to buy food, blah, blah, blah. Those are asses and seats.
Right.
And your boy created them asses and seats.
Right. Right.
Okay. So now, and then also let's look at this too. And I get it. When you look at your college level, you look at the majority of your coaches are non-African American. It is what it is, right? Now, I can't be mad at that dude. I can't be mad at that dude because maybe he don't give my son a chance. I can't be mad at him, right? Because at the end of the day, think about this, bro. Every year, that dude's house payment, his car payment,
it's on the line.
It's on the line. And he's betting on some 17, 18-year-old kid.
Right.
So I gotta guess right.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at it. I ain't mad at it.
Right.
With one caveat, bro. With one caveat. I tell my son all the time, dog, I don't care who you competing against. If you want this, you just gotta keep working.
Right.
And you gotta be doing something every day. Every day. Bro, Mark, you got a job, right?
Yes, sir.
You get up every day, right?
Every day.
Every day. Same.
Every day.
I get up every day. Hey, son, you want this? Your job right now is two things. Go to school, play ball.
Exactly. And that's how I explained it in a nutshell, and I still explain it. And that's the way it is, because eventually one day you're going to hang your cleats up and you're going to have to get a real job, one way or the other.
One way or another.
One way or the other. Now, here's one question before I let you go and get you out of here. Then this is Damon Brooks. He's one of the baseball coaches in Alabama, close to the Birmingham area, here on Your Marc show and on the Diamond segment. The Negro Leagues. We spoke about that. I was reading something not too long ago of how the Negro Leagues kind of disappeared. You played in a time period where, black players were making pretty good headway in the MLB at that particular time. And today's numbers are down, and we spoke about that. But the Negro Leagues, we had our own league. How did we lose that league? We put butts in seats. They were, they sold out shows and sold out arenas when they came in and traveled. But we lost that league. And now, Major League Baseball has come back, and they're going to give, put these guys in the record books where they should have been already. And, I think that's a great thing. And then they also, I'm sure you saw this, the Red Sox hired a black woman now in their organization that's going to, be in control of some baseball operations and things. So things are turning around, but we lost the Negro Leagues. And that's kind of piggyback on what, my whole message here in this segment is, how do we get back to that, getting our guys involved in the game?
Man, I think I'm gonna answer the kind of the end of that question. I think our guys are involved in the game on a youth level. On the
youth level, right?
I think we are involved,
right?
I think it's going to take a commitment from a lot of municipalities to really invest in baseball. And this gonna sound crazy. I'm not saying Major League Baseball invests, but the Marcs of the world, the Damons of the world, to invest in baseball, and more importantly, to invest in our kids. I think that's more important. I think once you start getting beyond that, whether people realize this or not, your kid is we're gonna find out what kind of baseball player your kid is by the time you get to ninth grade anyway.
Right.
You know, he's gonna decide, I don't want to do this no more, or I want to do something else. Or when he becomes a sophomore, I call it car keys and perfume. You know?
Yeah, that gets in the way. That's a whole nother subject.
That's a whole nother subject.
Whole nother subject.
So
yeah.
you know, so I mean, we're involved.
Right.
I'm not gonna say knowledgeable enough to say kind of what happened. I'm smart enough to know that, you know, when it came to Negro League baseball, you know, I think we all know that there were some guys who were real good.
Exactly.
But for whatever reason, maybe they were too black. You know, maybe they were going to be the ones who weren't going to let somebody call them something without going into the stand.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. Because, you know, my dad, you know, I've been in some situations with my dad, you know, he prepared me for it. You know,
exactly.
You know, and in the same conversations I had with my son when, you know, he turned 16, he started to drive. Those are real conversations we have, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, I still think we are playing the game. I think we become somewhat, I'm gonna say, disenfranchised with the game. One, when we start using excuses about the cost. But more importantly, when we realize, excuse me, like, man, this shit take a lot of work.
A lot of work.
It take a lot of work.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it takes hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting some more.
Right.
You know, I do my drills and one of the kids say, Coach, we did that last week. Guess what? We're gonna do it next week if you show up.
Right.
Because some of it, we're working on first step. We're working on quick first step. We're working on dropping. We're working on, you know, sinking the butt, turning, getting the hips. You know, all of that stuff, man. You know, with that, bruh, you know, I don't know if you know this, but Rickwood Field is the oldest minor league stadium, professional stadium, I think, still left in the country. You know,
is that where the Birmingham Barons play?
Oh man, come on, dude! Man, let me tell you, when I moved here in '99 and went out there, hey, bro, I thought I was in heaven for real, dog.
Right.
Because I'm like, dude, from Willie Mays to Satchel Paige to Josh Gibson to Babe Ruth to Joe, all them cats have been on that field.
Right.
It's still in the original. I mean, it's there.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. You know, they just opened up the Southern. Well, it's been here several years. The Negro Southern League Museum is downtown Birmingham, right?
Okay, good to know. Okay.
You know, I took my son there. I don't know if you know. Well, you probably Lee May Senior. You know, the big bopper, played with the Reds.
Yeah.
You know, me and Lil Lee, you know, grew up together, and you know, they got all the balls. They got signatures from all the balls of major leaguers. Negro League, major guys that played in the Negro League, and they got like a wall full of balls. And I saw Mr. Mays' name there, right? And it was like, I mean, dude, it felt good. You know, it felt good. And I think when you talk about the game, man, it's not only the game, it's the connection you're able to have with your son over a game. Over a game. Yeah. And I got a little saying, man, that you can steal it, but you know,
give it to me.
You know, that little white ball with red seams can provide you a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. You know,
exactly.
Because when you're competing on the field, dude, at the end of the day, you know, you may get them kids somewhere that's gonna, you know, speak out of turn. But if you can ball, you can ball, and people know you can ball.
Right. And that, at the end of the day, that's the key, and that's the kind of things that we're trying to bring to it. And Coach Brooks, I sure appreciate your time, and this has been a great segment here on the On Your Diamond segment, on the On Your Marc show here on 105.4 RPWP, thepulseradio.com. Go ahead and give your information, the name of your team, social medias where people can reach out to you if they want to get that information. If we're ever in that part of the Alabama where we can reach out to you.
Okay, awesome, man. Well, you know, if anybody would love to chat, my number is 205-586-4714. I'm on Facebook at Damon E. Brooks Sr. On Instagram, I think it's Damon E. Brooks Sr. And on Twitter, at Damon E. Brooks Sr. You know, Brother Marc, I want to thank you for having me, man. And this is, I hope everybody understands this. You know, if we just cogged in the wheel, man. You know, we just cogged in the wheel. You know, you happen to be on my journey, I happen to be on your journey. I will learn
No
something
doubt.
from you. Hopefully,
Yes,
you
sir.
learn something from me, man.
Yes, sir.
And at the
Yes,
end
sir.
of the day, for all of us, I don't care whether it's baseball or life, you know, we have an obligation. We have an obligation to give back. You know, at some point, I had a bitter taste in my mouth about the game of baseball. But what I didn't realize at 22, it had nothing to do about the game. It had to do with the business side of that. And now that I realize that, you know, I can give my little 2 cents on that kid or that parent that may be, you know, beginning in the process. You know, all the work you see we doing, man, this gonna sound crazy as heck what I'm getting ready to say, bro. But man, I hope my son can go and your kid can go as far as they possibly can. But at the end of the day, dog, I'm just creating a work ethic for excellence, bro.
Well, I definitely see that, and that's the reason I wanted to reach out to you and have you on. I appreciate you joining me here on the On Your Mark show. We'll take a small break and we'll be right back.